This submitted material provides a comprehensive analysis of Sony's recent April 2026 price hikes, examining the collision between global economic constraints, like helium shortages, and the rollout of new upscaling technologies like PSSR 2.0. So, a key theme running through this material seems to be the tension between rising costs and technological value. Let's look closely at the section discussing the macroeconomics.
Yeah, integrating the geopolitical drivers of the price hike directly alongside the technological justifications creates a much stronger, cohesive argument. Because right now, the primary weakness here is that the material treats those two things, the economic constraints and the technical features, as completely isolated silos.
Right.
Like the author has this really meticulous section detailing the regional conflict in Iran, right? And the subsequent shutdown of Qatar's natural gas facility.
Which is super interesting on its own.
Oh, absolutely. And they correctly point out that this specific event cut global helium exports for semiconductor manufacturing by, 14%?
Yeah, 14%.
Which is massive.
It is. But then the piece it completely shifts gears. It moves into this entirely separate, disconnected section discussing Sony's PSSR 2.0 upscaling technology.
Just out of nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. And by keeping these topics in separate rooms, the material forces the reader to do all the heavy lifting.
Right, they have to connect the dots themselves.
Precisely. The reader is just left to independently figure out why Sony is pushing this, massive PR narrative about enhanced ray tracing right at the exact moment their basic manufacturing costs are surging. It's like a restaurant raising its menu prices because of a global meat shortage, but marketing the change by saying they've introduced a revolutionary new gourmet plating technique.
That makes sense. But could the evidence also support a different conclusion, like Sony genuinely viewing PSSR as a premium value add rather than just a distraction?
I mean, maybe, but the author needs to explore that.
Exactly. Whether it's a genuine upgrade or a strategic distraction, what the author really needs to do here, my suggestion, is explicitly intertwine the narrative. The tech upgrades must be framed through the lens of Sony's corporate strategy to justify those unavoidable macroeconomic supply chain costs.
Show the reader exactly how the marketing is being deployed to soften the blow of that geopolitical inflation.
Yes, and they actually have all the right research right in front of them to do this. The science, the economics, it's all there.
Right, because helium isn't just like a random commodity. It's this inert gas, critically required to cool silicon ingots during the semiconductor fabrication process.
Right.
So when TSMC, the company making the PS5 chips, faces a 14% drop in helium, the cost of those wafers just skyrockets.
Yep. And instead of just listing that fact in a vacuum, the author could take the specific section detailing the $150 price jump for the PS5 Pro.
Taking it up to what, $899?
Yeah, a massive $899. They could take that and directly contrast it with the Capcom marketing quotes they found earlier in the draft.
Oh, that's a great concrete example. Take that quote where Capcom is boasting about how PSR 2.0 elevates the, what do they call it, the expressiveness.
The expressiveness in Resident Evil Requiem, yeah.
Right. So you can write a paragraph right there questioning if that added expressiveness actually offsets a 20% price surge driven by global tariffs and the helium bottleneck.
Exactly. Place those two things side by side, but the corporate marketing directly on trial against the harsh economic reality.
I love that. It creates immediate tension for the reader. It's no longer just a list of sequential facts. It's an active investigation.
Yeah, and you could do the same thing with how the author handled the April 7th PSR update for Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Right. Now they present it purely as a technical patch.
Which is a missed opportunity. They should reframe that completely. Analyze that update as a strategic PR maneuver.
Like a distraction?
Exactly. Frame it as Sony using these highly publicized software updates to validate the ecosystem right when they are asking consumers to swallow a $650 cost just for the base disc console.
Yeah. Frame the technical jargon, all that talk about algorithmic pixel generation, as the antidote Sony is prescribing for the consumer's extreme sticker shock.
Now keep in mind, these are just a few out of many possible ways to bridge this gap. But the goal is simply to merge the economic reality with the technological marketing so they aren't living in separate worlds.
Right, so shifting gears a bit, we've talked about how the corporation justifies the price, but we naturally have to look at how the buyer actually absorbs it. Grounding the highly technical performance benchmarks in the everyday reality of cost-conscious gaming families elevates the emotional stakes of the analysis.
It absolutely does. And this brings us to the second major critique point. The weakness in the middle section of this draft is that it gets entirely lost in the weeds of pixel counts and frame pacing.
It gets really granular.
Extremely. The piece lists these extensive Digital Foundry statistics, breaking down the minute visual differences between the PS5 Pro's 60 frames per second performance mode and its native 4K 30 frames per second quality mode in Crimson Desert.
Right.
But in doing so, it completely loses the perspective of the casual gamer. That deeply technical focus alienates the very demographic that is most devastated by a $900 price tag. It just ignores the psychological impact on average household budgets entirely.
Yeah, because if I'm a parent looking at a holiday gift, I don't necessarily know or care what dynamic resolution scaling actually is.
Oh, of course not.
I don't care that the console is dynamically dropping the internal rendering resolution from 4K down to 1440p during heavy action sequences just to keep the frame rate smooth.
Right.
What I care about is that my grocery bill just went up, my rent is high, and this piece of plastic now costs almost $1,000.
Precisely. So to fix this, my suggestion here is that the author should systematically filter all this technical jargon through what I'd call a casual consumer value test.
Oh, I like that.
Constantly weigh the intricate technical data against the real-world financial sacrifices families are making today. Ensure the data serves the human element of the story rather than overshadowing it.
The author actually has a brilliant piece of sourcing buried in the text that does exactly this, if they just bring it forward.
Oh, the quote about the house?
Yes, they found a quote from a consumer saying, and I quote, "I'm never going to buy a house anyway, so at least I have this $900 box."
It's so incredibly poignant.
It really is.
And the author should totally leverage it. As a concrete example, they could take that quote and place it directly next to the analysis of Assassin's Creed Shadow's dynamic resolution scaling.
Yeah, just ask the reader directly, does an average household budget care about individual blades of grass rendering cleanly in motion when they are actively choosing between paying rent or buying a console?
Exactly. Placing the micro-level technical detail right up against the macro-level economic despair highlights the absolute absurdity of the current market.
Like we said earlier about the restaurant, if a family just wants a good filling burger, they aren't going to pay $90 just because the chef used a gourmet plating technique.
Right. Another great place to apply this is when the author touches on the PlayStation Portal accessory.
Right, noting it jumped from $199 to $249.
Yeah. So when they bring up the Portal's new 1080p cloud streaming capabilities, they should immediately contrast that new feature with the harsh reality that budget-conscious families might now be driven entirely toward cheaper alternatives.
Completely abandoning the premium console ecosystem.
Exactly. Because a $250 accessory on top of a $650 base console is just mathematically impossible for them. Now, these suggestions are just a starting point.
Sure.
You could also approach this by interviewing a casual gamer about whether they even notice PSSR enhancements during daily gameplay, right? And then contrasting that lived experience with Sony's grand marketing claims.
But wait, let me push back on this a little bit.
Okay, go ahead.
Are casual gamers even the target audience for an $899 PS5 Pro? Or is Sony intentionally pricing out families to create an ultra-premium tier?
That's a valid question.
Like, if Sony knows that casual gamers won't pay it, maybe alienating them isn't an accident. Maybe catering exclusively to the high-margin hardcore enthusiast is the core strategy, and the casual market is just collateral damage they are willing to accept.
That's certainly a strategy you could argue. But I wonder, though, if we've considered the long-term pipeline of that approach.
Building on that point, what if we looked at it from the perspective of ecosystem entry?
Meaning the base consoles?
Yeah. Even if the Pro is strictly for enthusiasts, the base console, the entry point, is now $650.
The high price of entry discourages new players entirely.
Right, because if families are priced out today, they aren't buying the games tomorrow.
Exactly. They aren't paying for the monthly subscriptions, they aren't engaging with microtransactions. Sony might be securing high margins on hardware from their hardcore base right now,
but they are choking off the casual funnel that sustains the broader software market over the next decade.
That tension, the short-term hardware profit versus the long-term software ecosystem health, is exactly what the author should lean into.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that emotional impact on brand loyalty leads us directly to Sony's biggest competitor, transitioning from consumer frustration to market vulnerability here, highlighting Microsoft's technological advantages on older games exposes a critical vulnerability in Sony's aggressive premium pricing strategy.
Yes, and this is our third critique point. The weakness in the current draft is that it touches on the fact that the Xbox Series X outperforms the PS5 Pro in specific backwards-compatible titles.
Like Assassin's Creed Unity.
Right, like Unity. But it stops short of evaluating what this actually means for the broader console war. It notes the technical facts, but misses the so what regarding long-term buyer loyalty amid massive price surges.
Yeah, because if a consumer is spending nearly $1,000, the expectation of flawless performance isn't just a preference, it's a demand.
Exactly. So my suggestion here is to expand the Xbox comparison to actively challenge the core value proposition of Sony's hardware.
Use the performance data of older games to interrogate whether Sony's premium pricing holds up when older, cheaper hardware from Microsoft sometimes offers a demonstrably smoother experience.
Right. For example, the author has that Digital Foundry data for Assassin's Creed Unity.
Yeah, showing that the game outputs at a resolution of 2880 by 1620 on the Xbox Series X,
Versus only 2304 by 1296 on the $900 PS5 Pro.
which is wild.
It is. And instead of just listing those numbers, the author could use this stark mathematical contrast to argue that Sony's second price hike in a year might represent a fatal misstep in market strategy.
Because if a machine that costs significantly less is rendering a decade-old game at a noticeably higher resolution, that illusion of the PS5 Pro as the ultimate uncompromising luxury machine starts to fracture.
It really does. And it goes beyond just resolution, too. The author mentions variable refresh rate, VRR, but they don't explain the mechanics of why Xbox has an advantage there.
Yeah, they really need to explain the how there. Because Xbox built VRR into their hardware architecture years ago.
Right.
So when a game's frame rate drops, say from 60 down to 45, the Xbox system natively tells the television to change its refresh rate to 45 Hz on the fly. It eliminates screen tearing and stutter effortlessly without requiring the original developers to issue a patch.
Exactly. Whereas Sony's implementation on the PS5 requires the software to be much more aware of the VRR container.
Which means a lot of unpatched older games just don't benefit from it smoothly.
Right. And that technical reality is the perfect ammunition for the author to question the loyalty aspect. They could discuss how Xbox's superior system-level VRR on backwards-compatible games makes the PlayStation ecosystem look artificially restricted.
Just ask the reader, does a player dropping nearly $1,000 expect flawless performance across their entire library?
Yeah. And how does failing that basic expectation damage buyer loyalty? Again, you have many avenues here. You could also explore if Microsoft's earlier price hike in September gave them a strategic advantage.
Oh, by taking their lumps early?
Exactly. They avoided the current wave of consumer backlash that Sony is facing right now.
Leaving Sony to stand alone in the spotlight during a really tough economic downturn. So if an Xbox Series X runs a decade-old game better than a brand new PS5 Pro, does that fundamentally break the psychological contract of premium hardware?
Is the connection between A and B fully established in the material, or is that an area to potentially bolster? Because if I'm a consumer looking at my bank account and I see that a massive financial investment doesn't even definitively conquer my backlog of old games, that psychological contract is absolutely broken.
It's like buying a luxury car and expecting it to handle smoothly on an old dirt road, not just on a custom-built track.
That's the deep emotional resonance the author needs to tap into. It's not just about the silicon or the helium or the AI upscaling. It's about the feeling of being respected as a buyer.
Okay, let's pull all of this together. The critique gives the author 3 clear, actionable areas to expand on. First, intertwining the geopolitical realities like the helium shortages directly with the technological marketing of PSSR 2.0, so the narrative shows how Sony is using tech features to mask economic inflation.
Right.
Second, grounding those highly technical Crimson Desert and AC Shadows benchmarks in the harsh financial reality of casual gamers. Filtering dynamic resolution stats through a casual consumer value test ensures the piece doesn't lose its humanity.
Absolutely.
And third, expanding on the Xbox Series X's resolution and VRR advantages on legacy titles to actively critique Sony's long-term value proposition and that psychological contract they have with buyers.
I mean, the foundation of this piece is incredibly strong already. The depth of research from the geopolitical supply chains to the intricate rendering metrics, it shows a deep dedication to the subject.
Oh, for sure.
By just realigning how these facts speak to one another, explaining the mechanisms behind the tech, and connecting the corporate strategy to the everyday gamer's wallet, the author will easily elevate this from a great summary of events into a truly compelling analysis.
We really look forward to seeing how you implement these concrete suggestions. Please revise your draft and submit it back in for another critique. We'd love to see the evolution of this piece. Because at the end of the day, no matter how revolutionary that gourmet plating technique is, the customer still has to be able to afford the meal.